simple thing, you know, but you'd be amazed at how many experienced horses and experienced riders have trouble leading their horse, you know. It is an exercise and a skill that the horse needs to understand and learn how to do. They should be calm and relaxed. They should be connected to you, so if you stop your feet, they should stop their feet, and if you move, they should move with you. If you find like your horse is kind of lagging behind a little bit, then we kind of train them just to speed up to follow your hand gestures so they're quite nicely connected, and it should be a nice simple thing to do. And if you're also feeling pretty creative, you could also lead your horse backwards if you like. Remember, we said it's a great humbling exercise. You can use it to lead your horse anywhere you like. Just create a little bit of pressure out in front of the horse. And he stops when the pressure goes away. So the next thing that we need to focus on is making sure that your horse is nice and relaxed before you get on, and that they'll stand still and wait for you to mount them, because you get a lot of horses very experienced horses that can't actually stand still to be mounted, which is a sign that they're kind of nervous, they're worried about the whole thing. Maybe they feel like it's a bad experience every time you get on them. So we make sure that our horses are really nice and relaxed. You're able to kind of put your foot in the stirrup, not even hold the reins, you know, make as much noise as you want getting on them. And, you know, he's not thinking about walking off as soon as you sit in your saddle. So one of a very simple thing, but it's something that will just make your life and your horse's life a lot easier. It's something that is kind of uncommon to see in the horse world, but it's something so critical to a horse's sort of development. It's, you know, I can't believe that everybody around the world doesn't actually do it, and that's flexing. So making sure that the horse is incredibly light, flexing laterally side to side. So every time I get on my horse, I'm always in a hurry to go absolutely nowhere. So I spend the first couple of minutes just kind of flexing them left and right. And if you kind of pay attention to my hands, I mean, this guy is absolutely feather light. It's almost like before I can ever make contact with his mouth with that bit, he doesn't even let me make contact. He remains light and he remains soft on my hands, and that's just beautiful. One of the most important things about this, well, there's a few things that's so important about this flexing. It's going to develop into your emergency brake. That's number one. Number two, there's a pretty famous horse trainer out there that kind of developed a method which is solely based on flexing a horse left and right to kind of get them to almost fall asleep, okay? So flexing the horse left and right, it kind of gets their muscles all soft and relaxed and stretched. It also has a mental effect on your horse by calming them down. And it's a great way to kind of introduce that bit pressure to them, because one of the worst things that you can do is when you get on a young horse is to pull back on two reins. I keep talking about this white noise that is created by the rider on the horse. So if you're pulling back on two reins, there's a constant white noise, especially if he doesn't understand how to give to that bit pressure. So if you're kind of creating jaw pressure or tongue pressure from the very beginning, it just gives him a very bad experience, and at some point in his career he's going to kind of stop developing, and he might get really heavy on your hands, and stops him from being able to pick up the lightest cues. So flexing side to side pulls that bit straight in his mouth, and it's just a slight pull on the side of his face. So he doesn't have a bad experience because there's no pain. Even if I was to pull really hard, all he feels is a little bit of pressure, pulling pressure on the other side of his face. So a really important exercise, and it's very easy to develop. The next exercise, what we call forwards and around, a great warm-up exercise for your horse, and it's basically just building on the flexing. But I want them to be flexed as we move. So all his feet should be going forwards, and they should be going around as he maintains lightness on my hand and on my leg. So it's really simple. all I do is I put my inside hand, inside rein, inside leg. And as you can see, the rein is pretty slack between me and him, but he's got slightly an extreme bend in his body from his nose to his tail. And he'll maintain that arc as long as I ask him. When I'm ready to switch hands, I just switch hands, switch legs. An incredibly useful exercise to warm up your horse at competitions. Make sure that their body is soft and relaxed. If your horse isn't doing this well on that particular day, you can rest assured, or you can be pretty certain that once you start doing the flat work and you're going forwards and you're asking him to collect, he's going to be stiff. So make sure that you spend a good 5 to 6 minutes every time you get on the back of your horse, just warming them up, left and right. You want them to be very bendy, very snaky, a little bit lazy there, and very soft on your hands and on your legs. That's better there. Have to wake him up just a little bit. Switch hands, switch legs. And then when I'm ready to stop him, he just stops. Very useful exercise. So the next exercise called one rein stops. A fantastic exercise to get a hot, nervous horse to calm down very, very quickly. Because what happens normally is when we ask these hot Arabians to kind of trot off or something, sometimes you got a bit too much energy, sometimes they're thinking about taking off with you a little bit, and the first reaction that most riders go for is to pull back on two reins. Remember that the straighter the horse is from his nose to his tail, the more power he's got. The less straight he is from his nose to his tail, the less power he's got. So we teach these horses how to stop off of one rein. So it could be your emergency brake when you're out in the desert or doing different things. But you basically want the horse just to kind of go when you ask him to go and stop when you ask him to stop without ever creating any pain in his mouth initially. So, it's a nice maintenance exercise if you ever find your horse is a bit fresh in the morning, because what it really does is it's transitions basically. So if you're asking your horse to walk off a few steps and then stop, and then walk, and then stop, and then walk, and then stop, basically you can see this guy's ears are already, turned back towards me. He's listening, he's waiting for the next instruction. That's what your horse is going to do. When you ask him to go, they're going to be thinking, when is he going to ask me to stop again? Rather than thinking, when I ask him to go, he just takes off with me. So it's very simple. Ask him to walk off. Let me just kind of get him a little straighter. Maybe the camera can follow me a little bit better. And then when I'm ready to stop him, I just slide my right hand down and he stops his feet. Comes to a complete stop, I release. Okay? So we do that at the walk and at the trot and at the canter. Ask him to walk off again. And then I can ask him just to stop. Very nice. Now, if this guy was to keep moving, the only way that he can move is in a small circle, So his hindquarters are yielding, which stops him being able to buck, rear, bolt, take off, do all the naughty things that we don't want from our horses. So it's just a beautiful exercise. So stop him here. Pressure on one side of his face only. We'll get to the collection a bit later. So we're going to start to trot a little bit. Turn them towards the camera so you guys can see. And then I just sit. Pull one hand, and the horse comes to a stop. And here we go, sit. The horse comes to a complete stop. So if he doesn't really listen to my seat initially, he's got a couple of seconds, and then I just slide my hand down the rein. and bend him to a stop. Like that. So far, I haven't really had to make any kind of contact with his mouth. He's kind of responding off of a feel. So we'll do a bit of that in the canter as well. So I just use my seat initially, ask him to stop. He slows down very nicely, and then I just flex him. Okay? If he didn't stop off my seat, very simple. I just slide my hand down anyway. A little trip there, that's all right. Use my seat. And then just slide my hand down.